Hi there, today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to rewrite negative exponents into positive exponents, and hopefully teach some little tricks along the way to help you remember this process. So first let's start off with writing regular exponents. So if we have an example of 2 to the 4th power, we have a big 2 that is called our base and is be raised to a smaller number, which is the power or our exponent. So if we were to write this out in a multiplication long way, we would have our base being multiplied by itself 4 times. So we'd have that base, which is 2, multiplied by itself 4 times. And if we were to do another quick example of 4 to the 3rd power, we would have our base of 4 being multiplied by itself 3 times. So now we're going to be dealing with our negative exponents now, since we reviewed what regular exponents look like, or positive exponents. So we're going to look at the example of 3 to the negative 2nd power. Now if we were to follow it the same way that we followed our positive ones, we would do our base of 3 being multiplied by itself negative 2 times. Doesn't really make sense to what we've done. So there are 2 steps that we're going to break down into how we would rewrite this into a positive way. So the first part is that we're going to look at our base. And what we're going to do is we are going to write it or rewrite it into the reciprocal of our base. So quick review on what that looks like is if we have the form A over B and we're rewriting the reciprocal, we're flipping where our A and our B position are. So we would have now instead B over A, and that would be the reciprocal. So if we want to rewrite our base part, we would have, instead of 3, and this would be over a very invisible 1, but it's still there, we would now have 1/3. And that would just be dealing with the base part. Now we need to deal with our exponents and what we do with that part. So we have a negative 2, and it's attached to that 3. So what we're going to do is we want to go from negative to positive, and since our 3 is now in that denominator, all we have to do is just switch the sign of our exponent. And usually in this case, we're going to be going from negative to positive. Sometimes you go positive to negative, but we're only focusing on going from negative to positive. So if we know that it's attached to that 3 at the top and it's a negative, if we want to look at the bottom part now, we will have a positive 2. So now we have that 3 to the 2nd power, or 1 over 3 to the 2nd power, that looks really pretty much exactly like what we have. It's just in our denominator instead of our numerator now. So if we were to write this out, we would have that 1 that is the same, and we would have it over 3, that base, being multiplied by itself twice. So we'd have 1 over 3 times 3, which would then equal 1 over 9. And that would be more of our mathematical way to do it. If it still doesn't kind of really make sense to you, there might be another little trick that I have that can help out that doesn't really have to deal with mathematic vocabulary and whatnot. So here is a trick. I'm going to be doing another example. I'm going to write 2 to the negative third power. Now I'm going to put it over 1 because any number divided by 1 is just going to give us that number. But this trick kind of helps out a little bit. So let's imagine that these two numbers are living in a 2-story apartment and they're both renting out whatever room that they're on. The 1 is on the first floor and that 2 to the negative 3 power is on the second floor. So that 2 to that negative 3 power, since it has a negative 3, it's really unhappy living on the second floor. It doesn't really like the heat that always rises to the top floor. It's very much over it. So that 2 is now going to move downstairs because it doesn't want to be there. So I'm going to draw the same picture, but now we're going to look at it where that 2 is now currently living. So we'll do this. So now there's just that 1 that's living up there. Somebody moved in, took the 2 to the negative 3 power spot. Since it moved, that negative 3 now becomes positive because he's happy being on the first floor. And that 1 is now their roommate. So they're happily living together. So if we were to now write this in not building form, we would have 1 over 2 to the third power. And that would be our answer. I hope this video was helpful and you have a better understanding of how to rewrite negative exponents into positive exponents.